Hey everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna, and today I have yet another card for you with showcasing one of the new dynamic embossing folders. This one actually is not new to the annual catalog. I believe it came out excuse me, in the occasions catalog, and it is called the Pinewood Planks. And the hardwood stamp, background stamp, was my favorite stamp, and this is going to be one of my favorite embossing folders because I really do just love the look of the wood in the background. Just so much you can do with it. What I chose to do with mine was to make kind of a rustic 4th of July card, and I ran it through the embossing folder, and then on the debossed side I inked it up with a little bit of gray granite ink. And I have a little bit of Wink of Stella on the Celebrate. So really easy to make, a lot of steps, but pretty easy. So let's get started. Okay, so what we need for supplies, let me just show you paper first. This is the perfect shade of blue for a red, white, blue card. This is the new Blueberry Bushel. It's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And here is a piece of Whisper White, 4 by 5 1/4. Then I need a piece of scrap real red, and on that piece, it just needs to be big enough to die cut this Celebrate, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. Then I also need 3 scraps, 1 red, 1 white, and 1 blue, and those just need to be big enough to stamp this jar from the Jar of Love. So what we need for stamp sets then is the Jar of Love, and we're going to use this smallest jar here, and we're going to use the lid right there. This Jar of Love comes with a coordinating die set, which is called Everyday Jar Framelets, and we're going to use the framelit for the jar lid and the framelit for the jar. And then this Celebrate that I showed you comes from the Celebrate Youth Thinlits, which has 3 thinlits, one that says Celebrate, one that says Amazing, and one that says You. I just love this one. I haven't played with it much, but I'm planning on it. And then, of course, we're going to use the Pinewood Planks Dynamic Embossing folder. And this is a very thick one, thick embossing folder, so we only use 1 acrylic plate in our sandwich, so I'll show you that when we get to that point. And then for ink, I'm going to use the gray granite. So the first thing I'm going to do is emboss my cardstock, my Whisper White. So I'm going to bring up my Big Shot. And the sandwich for this is a little different than a regular sandwich. I have a Big Shot platform. I have my embossing folder. I'm going to put my paper in there. And I want my planks going vertically. So I'm going to sandwich that in there. And then I'm going to place it on my platform, but I'm having the closed edge going in first. And then I'm going to take 1 plate, acrylic plate, and run that through. Now the dynamic embossing folders are very thick, and you get a nice deep impression, and that's why you only need 1 plate. If you were to put 2 plates on that, it would not go through. So here we have our wood plank, and both sides are gorgeous. There's the embossed side, and there's the debossed side. I haven't decided to take a piece of my sponge. I'll find a piece of scrap paper here. And with a quartered sponge, I'm going to just ink it up in my gray granite. And I'm just going to run this back and forth. And I'm using the debossed side of the embossed piece of paper. I don't want the embossed side. I'll show you what the embossed side looks like as soon as I'm done with this one. And I'll show you why I chose to use this side here. Okay, so that's the debossed side inked up. This is the embossed side inked up. And that's what that looks like once it's all inked up. It looks nice, but I happen to like the debossed side better. So I'm going to go with that side. Okay, so there is my background. And I'm going to put that aside. Now I'm going to bring in my 3 pieces of scrap paper. Red, white, and blue. And with black memento ink, I'm going to bring in a pad because this is a photopolymer stamp set. Red, white, and blue. Like I said, they're tiny little scraps, just enough to fit my jar on. I'm going to ink my stamp up with memento black. And I'm going to stamp it on the red. Stamp it on the white. And stamp it on the blue. And that's my stamping. I'm going to go die cut these out of the Big Shot. I'll be right back. Okay, and here are my 3 die cut jars. Now what I'm going to do is I have some scrap paper here, scrap white, and I'm going to do the lids to my jars. I'm going to emboss those. So I'm going to put a piece of scrap paper underneath these 2 pieces of white there. And with my Versamark ink, get my embossing buddy out first. With my Versamark ink, I'm going to stamp those. Let me just get my copper. Here's my Versamark. And I need 3 of these, obviously, because I have 3 jars. And I might be able to fit them all. No, I don't think so. So there's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. Now I'm going to sprinkle those with my copper embossing powder. Let's put a little more right there. I'll put that back in here, and now I'm going to heat emboss those. I thought the copper looked a little nicer than the silver because our background was a little rustic. I thought the silver might be too flashy, as if there's ever such a thing as something that's too flashy. But I did think that the copper suited this project a little better. Now, with the framelit that comes in the everyday jars, I'm going to die cut my 3 covers. I'll be right back. Okay, I have my 3 covers to my jars, and while I had my Big Shot out, I did cut out my Celebrate so that I didn't have to keep going off camera for that. So now I'm going to start assembling. I'm going to take my beautifully embossed pine wood plank, and as I said earlier this week, I ran out of snail, so I'm going to use this liquid glue. I decided to I forgot to tell you that we also need a piece of Whisper White that's cut 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 to mount this plank on. Okay, so there is that. Now I'm going to put my jars on the front of my card. I'm going to do these, and the white's going to be pop dotted up just a bit, and then I'm going to have these jar lids right there. Okay, so let me get that much done. I have the white. I'm using my retired fast fuse because I ran out of snail, as I said. There's my red. Here's my blue. I'm going to come in about the same amount on the other side. Then I'm going to get some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm going to pop the white one up. This one here is going to be offset just a little bit. Oh, before I put that on, I do need to put my covers on. So I'm going to put a little bit of fast fuse on the back of these covers and put one on my red jar, one on my blue jar, and now I'm going to pop this one right here. And I'm going to put a cover on that one. Okay. Now, before I attach this on my card, I'm going to come in with some blueberry bushel, excuse me, that was a mouthful, ribbon. And I'm going to tie a knot off to the left side here. Okay, there's that. I'm going to take, after I get that straightened out how I want it, I'm going to take a little glue dot and put that right behind the knot of my bow so that it stays nice and secure. And now I just have to, I'm going to put this on my card base now. I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue. I feel like this video today was awful choppy. I apologize for that. I'm going to take this, turn it over, drop it right there. Clean that up. Okay, I'm going to put that aside. Now I'm going to get some adhesive on the back of my sentiment. So what I'm going to do, with my silicone pad, I'm just going to put a daub of glue there, and with a sponge, I'm just going to tap that onto my die cut, and it's just going to attach, put adhesive all over it so that I don't have to fuss. And if there's any that's showing, it will dry clear and it won't be a problem at all. So I'm going to drop that right there. Straighten that up. Okay, and that is nice and secure there. Now, when this dries, I did make a little bit of a mess with my glue. I'm going to, with my adhesive eraser, I'm just going to lightly remove that. But I do have to wait for it to dry. I think it's okay. Here we go. I'm going to remove that off camera. I'll be right back. So here is our finished product, and sorry about that adhesive mess. I don't know what happened there. So I was able to remove all of the adhesive once it dried with this great adhesive remover, and it is a great tool to have in your arsenal of paper crafting tools. So here is our finished card, and I think it's great to accompany a gift to your hostess if you are going to be celebrating at a cookout this 4th of July. So I wish you and your family a very happy, safe 4th of July, and I thank all of our military personnel, both present and past, for all of your service. And shout out to my own daughter, who is in the military and not with me this 4th of July. So I thank you all for your service. Happy birthday, America, and see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.